Okay, so let's get some mantras out there. Anybody have a mantra they want to share? You don't have to raise your hand. Okay, yes.
True love is being free and at home at the same time.
Ooh, true love is being free and at time. You saw lost. Did you hear that? Okay. Oh, yes. Same.
I love myself through all my insecurities, doubts, and fears.
Oh, my gosh. I love myself through my what? Dang. I love myself.
Through all of my insecurities, doubts, and fears.
Did you hear that? Okay. I love myself and my beauty too. Yeah? Okay. All right, some more. You got one? Okay.
Kind of out there, but my new one is I'm healing you because I love you.
Oh, okay.
Because I love me.
Okay. I'm healing. The last part you said was I'm healing myself because I love me.
Yes.
All right. Let me get one more out there, and then I'm going to have our panel introduce themselves. One more. Okay, Siggy back there. Green. I heard fuck. I don't know the rest. I heard like something fuck. It was great. I live. I am bliss AF. Talagang bliss. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead with our panel. They have mantras too. They're going to introduce themselves, what they do, their business, and then they will have their mantra.
I go first. Test. Hi, everyone. My name is Deanna Sison. I'm a founder of 3 restaurants in San Francisco, and I currently still operate 3 of them. I have a couple mantras, one more personally, which is, if some of you remember from last year, Entrepinays Summit is very basic. We'll figure this out. So I firmly believe that. I'm an optimist, so I always believe that in one way or another, we'll figure it out. And then professionally, especially with employees and managers and people that I interact with, the right fit leads to the right balance. The right fit leads to the right balance. That's what I go by. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jenny Odell. I teach art at Stanford. That's my real job. But I also wrote a book called How to Do Nothing, Resisting the Attention Economy. So yeah, and my mantra is not very exciting. It's just, what do you need? But it's directed both toward yourself and whoever's around you. It seems simple, but it's actually not. To just like take a moment and a pause to not ask what it is that you think you need or want, but actually what you need to move forward.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Barrica. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called O.School. We are a trusted resource online that helps people learn about sex and pleasure. I am why peck power, I think, is a thing. Thank you, the Pearl. Pearl. Yes. I'll share 2 mantras. My personal mantra is, may the true, good, and beautiful in my nature be as strong as the whispers of the monsters and demons. That's my personal, yeah. Because I got a really loud inner critic. And, excuse me, my heels are slipping. In my work at O.School, I help people all over the world navigate sexuality and relationships, and my favorite mantra to pass on is, ask for what you want, say no to what you don't want, and if it's not a fuck yes, it's a no. And orgasm is a way to figure out what your fuck yes is. Because you have to know what it feels like. We can talk about that.
You closed your eyes for that one. She said, did you bring us any clits today?
I am I'm stupid. It didn't. I have so many more.
Oh, sad
Okay.
for you all. Ask her, you message her and say, can I have a clit? And then she'll give you one. Okay. She's not gonna touch her, she's just gonna give you one. Don't get too excited.
Help you find it.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
There you go. Sorry, she didn't slap me back. Okay, sorry, I can't help it. I'm trying to keep us alive after like eating, right? With all that amazing, can we give a round of applause for the amazing food? Okay, so I'm gonna go right in. You know, we have a little bit of an agenda, but we're also limited on time, so I'm just gonna go right in and ask you some questions, and then we're gonna take some questions from the audience. It's like a talk show. My question for you is, there's a lot of talk around trying to create, there's a lot of talk about creating balance. Like, the famous question is, how do you do it? Have you all been asked that? How do you do it? Sometimes you ask yourself, how do I do it, right? And so there's this thinking around balance, like that you should have things in certain ways, and I think that that's an important question. I also want to add another dimension of harmony. How do you live in harmony? So my question for you is, how do you balance your life on one end, and then also live in harmony if those things work together or if they're not the same thing? Okay? Dun, dun, dun. So let's start on this end since you started. We'll go this way and then we'll make our rounds.
So I have been an entrepreneur for 10 years. I built accounting software and then I was a VC, and throughout that time I got divorced. I had many struggles with relationships, and even now I question sometimes the way that I cope, running O.School, being a public speaker, all the other things, being a sister, and my mom and sister are here, like being a good sister, a good daughter, a good friend, a good co-founder, a good, person in relationships. And sometimes what I have learned and when I'm sitting is I just accept that there's not going to be harmony and balance for a little while, and that is one of the ways that I am gentle with myself, because that is a hard thing for me. I told you I have whispers of monsters and demons constantly, and especially being the founder of a company where we help people with sexuality and relationships, it's easy to feel really hypocritical all the time when your relationships are not great, or when you're not having sex at all, right? Like people, or when you're having a poor relationship with your mom. I'm a huge introvert, huge. Like I need a lot of alone time, and that bank gets drawn. And so the how is really focusing on day to day. What makes me come alive? What is building my joy? And what can I do right now in this moment, even when all the things kind of lined up may not feel like you're living up to your values there, because self-care is something we all talk about, but in reality, I don't know a lot of people who are winning that battle more days than not. And I just want to acknowledge that the people who seem the most put together, they are definitely struggling.
Thank you for that.
This is something that I thought about a lot this past summer, because my book published in April, it ended up getting a lot more, ironically for something where the subtitle is Resisting the Attention Economy, it got a lot of attention. And I was having to do like 3 to 4 interviews a week for many consecutive weeks, having to travel and do book events, and which is a great problem to have for a book, and I'm so lucky, but I am also an introvert. The book, it comes from a very introverted place. It's like I'm putting the deepest parts of myself on display, so that in itself is difficult, and then the publicity is difficult, because I tried to write a book that was something you couldn't make into a soundbite, and then I was constantly being asked for a soundbite. So it's like, try to summarize this book about how we summarize things too much. So I really swung back and forth, and it was just kind of crazy. And I think I have sort of provisionally arrived at my version of balance, which is that it's really, really important to have parts of yourself that are just for you, that you don't owe anyone else. Maybe people very close to you, but even that, I think there's still things that you feel and think that it's fine that you can't put them into words and you can't explain them. That's actually really good. You shouldn't be able to articulate everything that's in your mind. And it also, maybe like 2 or 3 years down the road, like maybe you will be able to articulate it. Maybe it will show up in your work. Maybe it won't. It doesn't matter. Like it's just something that's private. So I think for me, that's the sort of balance side of things. And then in terms of like harmony, I have a whole section of my book where I talk about some crows that I have befriended on my balcony. So some of you maybe know about my crows. And in that part of the book, I'm talking about how important it is to see myself from a perspective that is not human, and also that's not judging me, and it's not analyzing me, and it doesn't see work, and it doesn't see progress. So I find harmony in interactions like that, and interactions with people that are outside of my professional sphere. So like the gardener at the rose garden, or like my neighbor, or the kids that live next door, like people who are just know you as a person. That has been really helpful for me in terms of like feeling like I'm in harmony with my surroundings and my community.
So, what is balance for me? First of all, I don't think balance is a static state. We're actively always trying to find balance and achieve balance. It might be just eventually something that you find yourself in a state of if you're fortunate enough. But for me, there's so many things that I'm managing. 13, 14 years ago when I first started my first restaurant, like many of you, when you're first starting your business, you fling yourself into it, and then all of a sudden you're just overwhelmed by everything. You can't talk to your friends, you can't keep up with your family, you really have no time for anything other than just focusing on your business and sacrificing so many of your relationships at the time because you're focused on pursuing this passion of yours. And so in the beginning, that's where I found myself. I might have lost a few friends because of it, but for those that understood what I was going through, we came out the other side. Obviously, I stuck true to my passion. I opened up multiple businesses. It was genuine, authentic experience for myself. This is what I wanted to do. This is who I was. On top of that, when I got into business with my business partner, unexpectedly, 6 months into it, we also fell madly, passionately in love. And 2 years after that, we got married. I inherited 2 stepkids, and then a year after that, I found I was pregnant, so then I had my first kid, and surprise, a year later, I had my second kid, had a second business, a third one in brewing, so there's all this stuff. So on top of managing my businesses and the business relationships, there was also my business partnership, which had the added complication of also being my life partnership. So I don't recommend that for the faint of heart. It's had its ups and downs, and we've had our journey, which is still continuing, but it's a lot to manage. And people ask me, how do you do it? I don't know how I do it. I wake up every day, I put one foot in front of the other, and that's all I can do. I can just do my best and hope that I come out the other side a better person. Yeah, that's about it.
Nice. A round of applause for that. How about your relationship with yourself? Like, how do you do that?
I guess I'll say that I have kept a journal since I was old enough to write, which is a really insane amount of data to have on yourself, P.S. Like, very detailed. I feel like I'm not supposed to know that much about my own experience. And it's like at this point, I mean, that's too much to read. It's too much for me to ever read. So clearly it's not about really, I mean, it's interesting to go back and read it, but it's clearly like just the act of doing it is the point. And I think that it has a lot in common with therapy. I also have a therapist, but that's like fairly recent. But I think they're both like forms of like dialogue with yourself, where, like a therapist is really helping you have a dialogue with yourself. Because it allows you to like see what you're doing. or like see what you're thinking, and like you can see patterns, like especially like destructive patterns or like loops or like self-judgment, which once you see it, then you can sort of like catch it more easily when it's like happening in your mind. So I think that that's one really important way that I have, you know, had some sort of relationship with myself. I also think, I know that this is a really big luxury and it's time is money and whatnot, but I highly recommend, if you can get away with it, going on like a 2 to 3 day like self vacation. We're in the Bay Area, like you can drive like an hour from here and like stay in a nice like cabin or I don't know, something, and like treat it like you would a trip that you go on with your partner, like a romantic trip, but it's with you. Because I think it's important to remind yourself that it's important to be good friends with yourself. So the same investments you would make in a relationship with a partner, you should also make in a relationship with yourself.
Yeah, I like that. I'm not as disciplined, you know. I don't journal. I think that I find my moments of quiet time that could be just even 15 minutes having coffee, or after all the kids have gone to bed and night's quiet at midnight, you know, I turn on my Netflix. You know, self-care, obviously, getting away. Sometimes I feel like getting out of the city is the best thing because you're in this hustle, this grind, this rat race, and it's always in your face. I think just for me, my touchstone is really the ocean, so I gravitate towards the water whenever I need some peace and some quiet time just to regenerate.
So today is my Lola's birthday. She passed a few years ago, and I wanted to bring her in the room because I really don't have a great relationship with myself. And no women in my life did. It's like, I think for a lot of women, I know that for me, you belong to your father, then you belong to a husband, and then you might belong to some kids, but when do you belong to yourself? And I saw this in so many generations of my family, and when I, jumped into entrepreneurship, it was always about the company. When I practiced open relationships after my, marriage. I ended it, and I wanted to, explore other types of relationships, and suddenly I belonged to a lot of different people. But what stayed the same was I didn't have a really strong relationship to myself. So this is something I'm really actively working on. I've worked out with my therapist that I'm a very poor self-nurturer. Like, I'm so good at nurturing other people, but when it comes to myself, I'm very withholding. I don't like to give myself time off. I really struggle with it. Like, 5 women who know me in the audience have stopped me and are like, Andrea, when's the last vacation you've taken? Like, so it's clear. People are kind of seeing that I'm like on a thread's edge, and like, where does this come from? And I want to share that because it is a daily journey to put myself in the list of priorities, and masturbation does help. So I would be remiss if I did not bring that into the room as I have in the past.
You do that for yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
And it's so important because it's not even about orgasm. It's not even about that. It's about that relationship to yourself. And what is more important than knowing what makes you feel good and giving it to yourself? And I can't give myself other things. I can't really go take that 3-day in a yurt vacation. I've done that once. It was magical. I want to do that again. So thank you for saying that. But you can take, 15 minutes in the morning, at night, multiple times. You can do whatever you want, right? Like, I gotta tell you, like, I raise venture capital. I'm raising right now. It's really hard. I'm really going through a lot. And sometimes the only thing that gets me through it is like, all right, I'm gonna go do that, get myself all like relaxed, because I'm gonna go swim in the poison of patriarchy for 6 hours or something, It's like, if you're gonna swim in the poison of patriarchy and fight oppression, guess what that needs? Energy. And what gives you energy? Orgasms. So if you want to fight oppression, please take care of yourself. And it doesn't have to be masturbation. It can be a bath. It can be a face mask. Everyone's doing face masks. Face masks are great. come talk to me if you want other things that make you feel great, because those things are important too. And that's why the work I do with O.School is not just about sex and relationships. It's about agency, power, and taking care of ourselves.
Yes.
Because this is a lifelong. Anyway, so my Lola went to church like every day, so she would be very surprised at the time celebrating her birthday, telling all of you to masturbate. But I just want to share that.
Orgasms in church in the same sentence.
And this brings back to like the harmony discussion. I am very poor at self-caring in some ways, but I focus on the ways that I do know how to take care of myself. And so you got to start baby steps, right? Like I will take a vacation soon, but in the meantime, I can take mini vacations by myself, you know? So that's
Can I say
Your
something?
family's smiling at you. I just
have
want to
a-
let you know. They're smiling at you, your family.
So,
Right there.
I have a question. Did you masturbate this morning?
No, I did not, because my mom is staying with me. So no, absolutely not. But I guarantee you, if she hadn't, then yes, I would have.
One more thing I want to acknowledge, and what you touched on. You're very bad at self-care, but you nurture all those around you. I'm in the hospitality industry, and so that's what I love to do. We love to nurture others, and I look around the room, and I'm sure it's the same for most of you, that you think of others' needs before your own, and everybody takes priority. Your kids, your managers, your employees, your business partners, your life partners, and usually last on that list is you. And it takes practice and it takes intention to really make that time for yourself. And you realize like you need to self-nurture in order to keep on giving. A lot of us, we have different capacities. I happen to have probably similar to you, like just a big capacity. Just I like working. I like doing. I like to fill every moment of my time with something meaningful, something purposeful. I don't like to just do nothing. It's hard. How many of you have a hard time just doing nothing? Yeah, that's my question. Like, how do you be
Buy my
still?
book.
I need your book. But is that wrong? Is it wrong to not like being idle?
Well, I would just say that this is the soundbite version of my non-soundbite book. The book is not actually about doing nothing. It's just about doing things that aren't goal-oriented.
Which orgasms also are like sometimes. So I think that's really, no, I'm not just saying that. No, listen, because I'm not just plugging it again. Men ask me all the time, so I got this move. And I always have to explain to them, it is a non-determinate path. And so that's what I think that's about.
No, that's exactly the same. Yeah. No.
So
How to do nothing.
And to
Explain
Deanna,
that?
for Deanna, it's
Explain it
I
more?
think this is the thing. I think it's okay to always want to be doing something, but for me, sometimes wanting to fill space is because I'm so uncomfortable with my self-worth being tied to my productivity. So if I am doing things because I actively am this makes me so joyful and alive, and I want to take over the world, and I'm so filled, and that's where I feel like being in touch with your body is important, because I can feel it when it's that, versus when if I do nothing, that means I am selfish, unproductive, lazy. That is, I think, a harmful colonial feeling that's been planted in us. And so that should be meaning my work should feel like play.
Right.
And if I don't feel like I'm playing, then why? And I have to answer that. And I think that's not to I can't wait to read your book.
It sounds like you don't need to.
You have to like what you do, is what you're trying to say. Yeah, absolutely.
It's 'cause
love what you do.
Exactly. And if you don't, and you're burning yourself out for some martyr reason, because I used to do that. If I burn out myself for my bigger cause, that's better for the cause. But a lot of entrepreneurs in the room will tell you, you will have nothing to give.
Mm-hmm. Deep. I don't know how to facilitate this. I did all those things yesterday. And I still got shit done. I don't know. Okay. It's true. All right. I'm going to open it up to the audience now to get some questions from you all. Let's have a little bit of interaction. Which pinay out there would like to ask a question? Run. Oh, hello.
Hello? Oh, okay, there. Hi, everyone. My name is Jelaine. I'm the co-founder of Cambio & Co. And thank you, that's so nice. I actually wanted to ask a question about kind of managing relationships that are important to you, but that you yourself have kind of grown beyond. So that's, I think as entrepreneurs, like the entrepreneurial journey is so intense, and you end up growing in ways that are, in paces that are faster than other people around you who are not living that same lifestyle, and in ways that are really different. And so I have a lot of friendships with people that I really love and that I have had the privilege to know, but who are just so different from me now. And also even my friendships with other entrepreneurs, as our business grows and becomes more successful in the outward ways, it also becomes harder to maintain those relationships with other entrepreneurs whose businesses haven't grown at the same pace. So I would love to know like how you've all kind of managed those things and how you approach that.
I think there's so many layers to that question. It's such a great question. First of all, thank you. One, I think the friendships, absolutely. I have a specific experience of helping a lot of, especially women, who have outpaced partners. And I want to say that this is extremely common, and society has done a disservice in that they haven't made a lot of men who can handle it. And I will say that. I will say that there are a lot of people staying in relationships and they are outgrowing, outpacing, and their partners aren't willing to do the work. If you need to hear this today, this is for you. Leave them. Leave them. And I will just say it. And I have divorces, ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends. I'm queer. You know, it's not related to a gender actually, but in a lot of ways, I think that if you need to hear that, you can love them and still leave them, and it's important for growth purpose. And it's out of a place of love, and it's out of a place of we can't be small for other people. You can't, and another thing I will quickly say, because also I was in the closet for a long time, so specifically about, I left a marriage. We were high school sweethearts. I married early to please my parents, and unbeknownst to both of us, she was a trans woman and I was queer, and we found each other, and we had 10 amazing years together, and now we ended the relationship. It was very painful, and now we're both thriving, and we still love each other, and no one can take away that relationship from us. So I will just say at the end is, whether it's friendships or marriages or any sort of relationship, it's a transition, not a tragedy. That's it.
You're so wise.
Transition, not a tragedy. Yeah. But understand that there still could be trauma. I just want to put that. That's another T, by the way. Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't help it.
So I think that I don't run a business, and haven't had as much the problem of outgrowing relationships as much as something that happened again this past summer was that more people have been contacting me than ever before in my entire life. And the nature of my book is that people think they know me after they read it. And then there's also people that have been sort of on the periphery that I've known for a long time are also trying to. There's just a lot of people asking for my attention lately, and it felt like it was just all over the place. And then a very good friend of mine who I haven't seen in a long time was in an accident. She's fine. She's recovering. And she lives in Boulder. Basically, I had a very scary experience of getting a text from a friend and being like, did you hear about, our friend? She's in the hospital. I haven't heard from her. It was a very it just felt like this total slap in the face where I realized that my priorities attention-wise were all wrong and then upside down. I was giving all of this shallow attention to a bunch of acquaintances and strangers and not paying attention to the 3 or 4 people really close to me or my family. And so it was a really big wake-up call, and ever since then I've been I'm a really polite person, and I want to give attention when someone's asking me for it, and I've had to learn that, it's not my fault that there's only one of me. And if I give all of that away, I won't have like quality attention and time to give to the people that actually would make a difference, and that like those relationships are meaningful to me and them. So it still feels uncomfortable for me to say no to those things, but it's obviously like a skill that I need to learn, and I think can be learned.
I want to address it just for a little bit. I believe that people change over time, right? Like we all do. And so sometimes we change at different speeds. And so I try not to cut too many, even though like sometimes you have to leave people, for sure. But like I try not to cut anyone out of my life. Sometimes we don't talk all the time, but then somehow people come back around, and at times when you need them, like when things are really rough, like you really kind of know who's there for you. I mean, it's not always people you talk to every day. Sometimes it's not even your partner. I think it's really important to consider not cutting too many people out your life. People grow, people change. Okay. I think I can take one more question. Yes.
Hi, I'm Jillian. I'm in the middle of trying to embark on branding myself and my services and talents as Healing Beauty Bar. The background is I'm a single mom, leaving a toxic marriage, and really rebuilding myself, and this is part of my path. But in balancing everything, working my job as a nurse, building 2 different businesses to brand, and then branding me, the concept of mom guilt. Something simple like, Mommy, I wish you weren't doing this and this. You love it more than me. How do you pursue this passion, pursue this higher purpose, but still feel like you're parenting successfully too?
I think I'm going to stand on that just for a second.
Congratulations, first of all, and kudos to you for doing what you're doing. There's so much mom guilt that we deal with. I remember when the kids were 2 and 3. I just have this, even younger than that, actually, maybe I can't even remember. It's been all a blur, but just this vision of me driving over the Golden Gate Bridge. I've got one of those bra things on, pumping from both breasts, driving on speakerphone, doing a meeting, and just like rushing to get to work. I mean, like I laugh now, it's kind of comical, that vision. But yeah, you just, the feeling of not having enough time for your kids and not, being a good mom, like the range of judgment that you'll come under is so immense. And I think that, again, you're just putting one foot in front of the other and doing the best that you can. You're staying true to your passion, true to your vision, and hope that that's going to be a great example for your kids. And know that there will be sacrifices. You're going to make sacrifices with your time, but you're going to come out the other end. And it won't be for naught. It'll be for a grand realization of your vision. So, just keep at it. Mom guilt is just something that we're all gonna live with. We can't rid ourselves of it. So, yeah. What do you have to say about that?
Oh my gosh. Last year we had a panel. You remember last year we had a panel on being Entrepinays mamas, right? And that was intense. And there's a beautiful panel. My cousin Glenda was on that panel, and she really emphasized the notion of not doing things on your own. If it wasn't for Glenda, I could not do most of the work that I do. I have many people in my life, including Reina Victoria. I've had Elena in my life. I don't know if she's here, but I feel like there's certain people who I've gravitated towards, all pinay, like who have helped me survive my life and my relationship with my child. I'm just going to plug 2 books that are actually related. Melissa Navarre, are you in the house? Where are you, Melissa? There you go. Okay, this is your book right here. The Filipinx Radical Imagination Reader. There's a few pieces in here on parenting that I think you should check out. I also have a dialogue with my daughter in here. And then a new book that is coming out like next week is Fight the Tower. It's about Asian American women and a lot about being in the academy or being in business, so you should check this out. There's another piece in there that I wrote on mother scholaring, which has been a very, very challenging process for me, but it's the same answer, like not doing it alone. Sometimes when you feel like you're a single mother or you feel like you're doing it alone, it can feel very overwhelming, so you have to find people that will help you out and not feel guilty. The first word in this article is guilt.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge that with my mom too. Like, I'm super grateful and super lucky to have my mom in the Bay Area. So she definitely was somebody that I leaned on, as well as many friends and other moms out there. Other moms, other mompreneurs, they're the ones that you lean on.
Can I just add something to that? I don't have children, but my mom, most of the time that I was growing up, worked at a corporate desk job that she hated. And I remember that at some point when, right before I left for college, she got laid off. I think she was secretly happy. And ever since then, she's done respite care for foster children because she's like a child whisperer. Like, she just, like, she knows what kids want. I don't know, she's like amazing with children in a way that like I am not. Anyway, I remember like noticing like the difference in her whole like demeanor, and like being around her was great because she was happy. So like, I think sometimes it's like there's the calculation of like time, right? Like how much time does it take and how much time do you have to give? But there's this other valuing of like, I have friends where this has happened, where they left a toxic job and they got something that they actually cared about, and suddenly like they have more to give everyone around them. Like everyone benefits from them being happy. So I think they're, like, I can only imagine like having a mother who feels like passionate about what they're doing and happy and fulfilled is like, that has effects that maybe can't be like quantified as much as like time can.
And there's definitely entrepreneurship that has to do with that as well, like really having that own space for you to raise your children the way you want to raise them. So you make different time for them.
Well, it's also the relationship to the self. You matter.
I thought you were going to say something else. She was just going to say masturbate, but just kidding. You do matter. Sorry. That was intense. Sorry. Okay, I love this panel. I love these people, these women. Thank you so much, for all the beautiful words.